We'll call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I invite you to join us. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We just had an executive session, and Commissioner Strand and Commissioner Pipcorn were at the meeting, so just so people understand that. They weren't down here for the roll call at the time, but roll call again.
Kolpak?
Here.
Pepcorn?
Here.
Strand?
Here.
Fernberg?
Here.
Mahoney?
Here. Are we doing the video now or comms? I see a flag on here. I didn't know if we're doing a video of the game. Otherwise, okay, thanks.
Now representing the city of Fargo, our game spot tonight. First of all, we're going to go with Police Chief from Fargo, David Zavolsky. David, let's see that arm. That's a great shot.
Nicely done.
And no pressure, Mr. Mayor. This is Mayor Tim Mahoney from Fargo. Let's see that arm. Perfect one-out strike. Nice job.
Boy, you guys just passing out those T-shirts worked pretty good. Two commissioners, yeah, look at those arms. Holy cow, I'm nervous already. Approval of the order agenda, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the May 27th, 2025 meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 44?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Strand. Roll call, please.
Kolpak,
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Turnberg,
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Regular agenda, item 45th, recommendation for appointment of the fire chief, Michael Redinger, to explain.
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for your time to receive this item this evening. Pleased this evening to report the outcome and the feedback from our selection committee process with the recent fire chief selection committee. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge our selection committee. They really helped out a great deal with our process from the front of the process all the way to the end. We interviewed 3 great finalists on May 28th, and I'm pleased tonight to forward and advance the name of Chief Lorenz, Gary Lorenz, from the Grand Forks Fire Department for the consideration by the City Commission. This is a conditional appointment, and so after the appointment tonight, what we're going to do is complete the background check and the other pre-employment elements of Chief Lorenz's appointment to the Fargo Fire Chief position. And then in July, at a meeting to be determined, either July 7 or July 21, what we will do is come back and do the installation ceremony. We will have the swearing in, and then the community will greet Chief Lorenz formally as the fire chief for the city of Fargo. But a great process. We had several elements of that process, and Chief Lorenz was our top candidate that came out of both a roundtable, 2 formal interviews, as well as other aspects of a mock interview that we did with all of our candidates. And so just a real credit to his participation in the process and all of our candidates. We thank them very much for their interest in this process. And we really believe that we've got the right fit. As I was telling someone who had asked me a question about it, I think we've got the right fit for the department, for the leadership well into the future. And so just want to acknowledge Chief Lorenz and just thank him for his interest in the position. So we think he's going to do a great job. The motion tonight is simply to approve this appointment, and we will move forward with the next aspects of the pre-employment and then come back and you'll greet Chief Lorenz at a future meeting in July. So happy to answer any additional questions about the search process, and just also want to acknowledge the mayor, Commissioner Kolpak, as well as our other selection committee members for all of their time. Took a lot of time to get through this, but it was a good process.
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Kolpak, you want to make a comment?
Thank you. I would. First of all, to your point, Michael, thank you to everyone who served on this committee. It was very thorough, and we all had great participation, including the addition of 2 firefighters that were part of the entire process as well. That was very important and influential in the final decision. We started out with a really good applicant pool from all over. We ended with 3 finalists, and I will say, and I said this publicly at a meeting as well, that the process itself any one of the 3 would have been a great selection. So it was incredible to have the 3 finalists we had, and certainly support the final decision. But very much thank you to everyone, and thank you to the entire committee for serving, and thank you also to admin and HR for your support throughout the process.
Very good. Any other comments? Roll call vote, please.
Kolpak,
Aye.
Turnberg,
Aye.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Mahoney.
Yes. Tom, we're going to have you do construction update because I'm below the 5:15 meeting time, and I think you've got an excellent report for us, do you not? I see construction all over town, and I can't seem to get to anywhere without running into some cone somewhere.
We are in the heat of it, that's for sure. So we're here to provide the monthly construction update. Again, this is just covering the projects that engineering oversees. I did share one safety incident a month ago, but since there have been no additional safety incidents or injuries on any of our projects. I always like to share this where people can find more information. We have made recent updates to fargostreets.com. A lot of great information there to find out more details about projects, but also current closures and detour routes. So here's one of the big ones that we're working on, 45th Street South, doing concrete pavement repair. Northbound traffic is reduced to 2 lanes from I-94 to 32nd Avenue, and southbound is reduced to 1 lane between I-94 and 32nd Avenue. The contractors kind of merged phase 2 and 3 on this project. One of the benefits of that is ultimately hoping to have a little bit less impact in the long run and have this project completed by the end of July. Next big one is 32nd Avenue South. Currently that roadway is closed between 15th and 18th Street. Business access is provided through some various detours. Contractors currently working on underground between 17th Street and 18th Street. And you can see here in this image that they're working on paving between 15th and 17th. And that portion of 15th to 17th is anticipating to be opened sometime in early July. This image is the contractors boring under the Milwaukee Trail crossing. And so they had to do a trenchless method to bore underneath that trail crossing for the storm sewer here in the image. NP Avenue kicked off here recently. That's on on NP between Broadway and Roberts. Contractor has finished pavement removal and is currently working on underground utility installation. There you can see the new NP Avenue parking garage as well. A lot of other rehab recon projects going on that I won't go into detail on, but our mill and overlay, wear course, sidewalk replacement, citywide concrete spot repair, 4 of our street reconstruction in core neighborhoods projects, 1 in Roosevelt, 1 in Hawthorne, and then 2 in Longfellow neighborhood are all ongoing. Also working on our citywide seal coat, fiber expansion to support the triple RDC, various sanitary sewer manhole repairs, various citywide storm sewer repairs. We have a sanitary sewer lining project, and then there is currently some work taking place on Veterans Boulevard. That's to remove negative left turn offsets. This is a safety improvement project that we've partnered with the city of West Fargo, and West Fargo is the lead on that project though. We have a shared use path along the river between 35th Avenue and 40th Avenue South. The shared use path itself is complete, and they're just working on the final grading and tying into the existing sidewalks along that path. Some new development projects, one of them being Dakota Commerce Center North. Currently working on getting the sanitary sewer lift station completed, and then they're working on placing curb and gutter sidewalks and doing the final grading. This image is showing that curb and gutter getting hung onto the concrete pavement after that concrete pavement is cured. Another new development, Southwest Metro Pond. They continue to strip topsoil down here. In the month of May, they moved about 200,000 cubic yards of clay. And they're also working on the box culvert crossings at 64th Avenue. So that's what that looks like. One more ongoing new development project, Interstate Business District Edition. This would be north of County Road 20 or 40th Avenue North, just west of the interstate. So they're still working on underground utilities on 44th Street, and they've started prepping for the roadway surface. We have a couple flood risk management projects going on. This one is Lift Station 27, which is on 32nd Avenue South, right at the river. I've shown a couple images of this one, but they're continuing to work on the storm lift station, pouring the concrete walls. And here you can see an image of the pumper truck nozzle hanging down when they were pouring those walls. A lot of reinforcement that goes into these. And we do have some projects that have wrapped up already. Our citywide crack fill project finishes up pretty early in the year. We did have a slide repair at 9th Avenue South, right at I-29 that we had to fix. And then storm lift stations up by Trollwood, lift stations 11 and 57 are complete. With that, I can take any questions.
Tom, there was an editorial on Veterans Boulevard traffic issues. Is there anything being done as far as looked at in regards to that concern?
I have not seen that, but I do know I do know some additional traffic is shifted to veterans with the work taking place on 45th Street, and we would tend to expect that. I do know there are some constraints north of the interstate, south of the interstate. That road could be widened, but I don't know that we've seen the delay or issues in that section to move forward with that right now.
That probably has a lot to do with construction on 45th. Yeah.
Right.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much for a good report. Safety report's always appreciated. We'll go to public hearing 46. This is going to be a discussion about the transit permanent route and service changes for Link FM. Jordan Smith to explain, is that right?
Coal swinging. Coal swinging.
Yep, coal swinging.
Okay, sorry, they put down Jordan, so.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Just to start off, I'd like to give you all a brief background into the Link FM bus service. It was initially conceptualized about 10 years ago as an opportunity to provide a connection between both downtown Fargo and downtown Moorhead, allowing residents to park downtown Moorhead, take the Link FM service into downtown Fargo for commerce, for jobs, whatever they have to do down there due to parking constraints at the time. Over the next couple of years, we noticed that ridership for the service had dwindled. So in 2020, we reduced it down to an episodic service for major events in the downtown area, including the list of events in your packet here. Frostival, Frozen Fortress, Celtic Festival, Scandinavian Festival, the Downtown Street Fair, and a couple of other events that we expanded to in the Blue Stem Center for the Arts. Since 2020, we have noticed a decrease in ridership yet again, initially due to COVID, but also due to the additional parking that's been created in downtown Fargo over the last couple of years. Been a couple of parking ramps that have been placed there, as well as another one that's going to be developed and finished here in the next couple of years, I believe. So with this and other external factors, including construction going on in the old Moorhead Center Mall site, we have brought the recommendation to permanently end the Link FM service. We were initially having a difficulty trying to provide service this year due to that construction. There'll be a number of road closures this summer in our path that we generally use for the Link FM service, so we figured that in combination with a few other things, it was a good opportunity for us to sunset the program. With that, we did provide an opportunity for public input at our ground transportation center. We did not receive anything from the public. And with any major route or service change, we do bring it forward for a public hearing. So our request is to approve the elimination of the Link FM events that are listed in your packet effective today.
Is there anyone present wish to speak to this route? Anybody present wishing to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call. Commissioner Strand.
I think it's worth noting, you know, we all know that we have a major challenge financially with providing transit services across the whole metropolitan area. And we're going to be seeing some belt tightening. You know, this is an example of belt tightening. There are some routes and some service areas that just are really not always cost effective relative to the, you know, to what we're trying to do. And your team, Cole, and everybody's just doing a great job leading us. But this is just, we just don't have the luxury of providing this fringe extra service. It's nice as it is. We just don't have that ability to be that generous with the public's money.
Thank you, John. Roll call vote, please.
Strand,
Yes.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Colpack,
Aye.
Turnberg,
Aye.
Mahoney,
Aye. Thank you, Cole. Application by Burt's Truck Equipment of Moorhead, Minnesota for a property tax exemption for property located at 2601 3rd Avenue North, which applicant is using for manufacture and assembly of snowplow trucks. Mike Sponkowski to explain.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Yes, the application before you is for a 5-year tax exemption for Burt's Truck Equipment of Moorhead, and the application was brought before the Economic Development Incentive Committee, and they didn't have anybody that showed up to contest their application. And so the recommendation of the EDIC is to approve the proposed pilot for this project. And we have Ryan Osheim from the FMEDC to present the project and answer any questions.
Mayor Mahoney, members of the commission, for the record, my name is Ryan Osheim with the Greater Fargo-Moorhead Economic Development Corporation. And as Michael mentioned and pointed out, this is a primary sector certified company by the state of North Dakota, a family-owned business founded in 1939. And I'm smiling a little bit because we have, it's a 5-generation. We've got 3 of the 5 generations represented here. Jeremy Gregoire, the president of Burt's, will come up in a moment and talk a little bit about the company and the project. But I wanted to also recognize that we've got Kent, Jeremy's father, and McCoy, who I understand will likely be taking over someday, here with us as well. So this is, as was mentioned, a company that takes equipment and kind of provides solutions for the trucking industry. So they take kind of off the factory heavy duty equipment, and they retrofit it, they upgrade it with, it could be a crane system, it could be a flatbed system, could be a utility, could be plows, but it's all customized solutions. They don't do any kind of repetitive sort of job shop. They've simply run out of space in their current facility in Moorhead, so they've expanded several times. They've got 3 buildings. They're completely out of space, and so they're looking at a solution that will help them not have to turn away additional businesses. They're currently turning down projects and contracts because they don't have the capacity to take on any more work. So currently at about 100,000 square feet in Moorhead across those multiple buildings. They're looking at expanding into 50,000 square feet of space and have examined the market. And we're unable to find anything in Moorhead and led them to look at some options on the other side of the river. So they have coordinated with the city of Moorhead and with Downtown Moorhead, Inc. They're fully aware of the situation and the lack of options within Moorhead with the current inventory of buildings. So I just wanted to make sure that we pointed that out. Operations in Moorhead will continue at the current level. There will not be a decrease, and so they're going to continue with the legacy operation there in Moorhead. So they'll be making significant improvements to this existing building, adding in overhead cranes, upgrading the facade, adding in equipment, paint booth, and really making that a hospitable environment to convert into production space. So adding 18 new jobs in year 1 alone, high paying, average of $75,000 salary. That's before benefits, and expanding to 30 jobs by year 5. So with that, I think I would ask Jeremy Gregoire to come up, talk a little bit about the company, and then share a little bit about the project and answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. I am Jeremy Gregoire, the president and owner of Burt's Truck Equipment. And as Ryan said, it's my dad, Kent, and then my son, McCoy. So three of the 5 generations are here. So a little bit about us. We did start, been around since 1939. So Burt is my great-grandfather. So it's kind of a fun family business that, we've put our time in. But we're also, we're a big part of the community. We volunteer in the community, we sponsor, we donate, we do everything we can to help out this community grow. We also try to treat our employees very well. I always like to tell people currently we have 4 father-son combinations working for us, 1 grandfather-grandson working for us. So I think it says a lot about how we try to take care of our employees, treat them well, give them good benefits, pay them well, try to do everything right that we can. As far as the building goes, it's going to be primarily manufacturing snowplow trucks for us. So we take, it's called a cab chassis. The truck comes in with nothing on it. We add snowplows, we add the warning lights, we add the box on the back, we add the tanks that have the fluids that you put down on the roads. We add the hydraulics that make the box and the plow go up and down. But it's it's an extensive process. It's about 250 hours in each truck that we produce. And as Ryan said, right now, we can't get everything done that we have currently scheduled. And we have not been able to add any new business just for the fact that we can't get it done. Ryan also mentioned, we did look in Moorhead. We started in Moorhead. We looked there, just could not find anything to make work. And as far as the building, like, you know, he did mention it too, but we're gonna add paint booths. We're adding electrical. We're gonna fix the parking lot up, fix the outside of the building up, and just make it a good, solid business. And we're gonna keep trying to grow and keep adding work and adding jobs. So I guess I'm here to answer any other questions you may have.
Any questions? Mike, could you tell how they scored?
Yes, that is in your packet there. They scored 164.8 for the first year and then 160.3, so that's well beyond the 120 points that we require.
Thank you, Jeremy. Glad to have Generations working for us. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mayor, we did not open it for public comment.
Oh, sorry. Is there anyone present who wants to speak to this application for a tax exemption? Anyone wanting to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Now I do have a motion and a second, so any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Kolpak?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Turnberg?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Yes. Thank you, Mike. Recommendation to approve request for proposals for the convention center project. Heard Charlie Johnson's very excited about this one, so.
Well, I hope you are too, Mayor. Thank you for the time. As it says in the memorandum here from Jim Gilmore, who's not able to be with us tonight, that we've been working on this. You approved the committee back in January. We've been working since February, included a visit to a couple of different convention centers and a lot of diligent work on behalf of the committee. And I would most of all like to thank the committee for all their hard work and for participating in this. Assuming this works out tonight, they will have a little break and then we'll get back to work when some of the proposals come in. But basically, we have the RFP ready to go. And if the committee has approved it and asked you as a commission to approve it tonight so it can go out to potential developers who would be interested in proposing projects. I'm certainly willing to answer any questions, but I think you've all had a chance to read it, so.
Any questions to Charlie?
So,
Commissioner
Mr. Chair, so
Pepcorn.
Charlie, if you wouldn't mind just giving a timeline of how it will go after this, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I can tell you that if you approve this, I'm looking for it here. Okay, so if you approve this tonight, we assume the RFP will be available at least by Wednesday. And then there will be a 30-day period into July 11th for developers who are interested to submit questions and have them answered by the city. And then after that, we will have a committee meeting. Our next committee meeting will be July 18th to review those questions. And then the developers after that would have until August 7th to submit their proposals. And this is the first phase of what will basically be a three-phase project. So this is the first phase, inviting anyone who has a proposal to submit. So that would be due by August 7th. Then we would meet, review those. We haven't finalized the timeline after that. It kind of depends on how we do scoring that first round. But it'll be into August before we send out for the second phase.
And just for the public to know, there's no tax right now on this, and lodging tax until we approve a project.
Yeah, it doesn't start until it's approved, yes.
Mr. Kolpak.
Yeah, just a comment to thank the entire committee. We've met every Friday for several weeks, as Charlie said, and there's been great participation. I will say, I think probably my favorite meeting was when we went through line by line by line and decided on the ranking weightings for each category. So it has been that thorough. So I really want to thank the committee and members of the community.
So,
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question? Did you say that was your favorite meeting? That was not. That was not my favorite meeting. But I will say it's a really good mix of people on the committee, so that's been very fun. And to go and see the other two We went to Rochester and St. Cloud, and to see them in person and talk to the people. I think that was good for everybody because everyone has their own perspective, but to hear the people that actually operate them, that was really good. So thank you I know you organized it, Charlie, and that was was money well spent. I think we all learned a lot.
My coworker Mallory Ackerman is here. She did a lot of the organizing. So thank you, Mallory.
Thank you for having to work with you, Charlie. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it would
Do I have
have
a
been
motion?
entirely different if it had just been me.
Yes. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any other further discussion? Commissioner Strand.
Thank you, Ed. I'm curious, Charlie, about the site location aspect of this project proposal or proposals coming. Do we require site control, or what if somebody do they have to own the locations that they're proposing, or how does that look for? Because you all know that I had advanced the idea of maybe some public properties downtown being available for development, but I just am curious how this all landed.
Well, we're not really specifying that. I believe the RFP language suggests that they tell us what the status of the land is, because we don't know what locations they're going to propose. And I know you had asked about a couple of city-owned locations, including the Civic Auditorium, right? And I think, as we told you at that time, if someone wanted to inquire with the city about that, it certainly would be up to them to see if they could make something work with the city. We don't know what the locations are going to be, but in the RFP, we want them in the first response, we want them to tell us whether they own it, whether it has to be acquired at a cost, or what the situation is. But that land has to be available to them somehow if they're going to submit a proposal for it.
And if I might continue, explain the hotel component part of this concept.
Well,
this is but you're asking for a hotel to be included?
Right. This was designed as a public-private partnership. The public part being using the additional 3% lodging tax to build the convention center aspect of it, and then the private part being an attached hotel. It wouldn't necessarily have to be brand new, but it needs to be attached. So we're open to whatever comes in, but that's the private part of it. So we want to know what kind of hotel they're going to build next to it. We've put in some suggested minimums for all sorts of things, including the hotel. We're talking about suggested minimum of 150 rooms to up to 200 rooms. But that's about as far as we go with the hotel. It's up to the developers and the bidders, if you will, to tell us what they have in mind and where it's going to go.
Lastly, Charlie, did you know about the inclusion of the small print that you can't retire till this project's done?
I didn't see that one. I can say though that our board of directors has suggested that, assuming whoever replaces me sometime in September is okay with it, that I would stay on this committee until we at least get the project fixed. So you're not quite going to be done with me yet, but thank you for that sentiment. I appreciate it. My wife might have a different view.
Commissioner Pepcorn.
Can I add just a couple of things, mostly for Commissioner Strand? Some of the scoring, you get additional scoring if you're near existing infrastructure, like restaurants and bars, and so there's things like that's part of the committee's what we've negotiated or talked about. So that is a thing. But the other thing we've learned is the opposite of that is you need to have room for expansion, because what we learned from our trips was they always need more room eventually, and so it's kind of two different things, but those are part of our scoring. And so I do think the Commissioner Kolpak might have enjoyed that. It's very minutia, but it's very important. And we are going to score a lot of those things that apply to, so it'll be interesting. And I just speaking for myself, I'm very much looking forward to the proposals, because I think you're going to be surprised. We kind of already know what a few will, but I think there's going to be some that we have no idea that they're going to submit. And so I think it'll be I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. I'm anxious to see who bids. You know, if you want an honest appraisal of what keeps me up at night, it's I hope we'll have enough money to build what we want. And then ultimately, if there's room for expansion, that would be great. But if we can get built what we have prescribed as, the minimums, suggested minimums, I think we'll be ready to roll with more meetings coming to town.
Very good. Commissioner Strand.
Charlie, how many years have you been wanting this to happen?
Well, I just had my 13th anniversary at Visit Fargo Moorhead. And so I would say it probably goes back at least 12 years that I identified this as an issue in the community. So we've really kind of been working hard on it through multiple iterations since like 2013, 2014. Fits and starts, I would describe it as. Votes and starts, votes and stops.
It's a really big moment for our community to get to this level where we can invite people to a convention center to come to our, come here.
Mhm.
It's huge. So thank you for your leadership and vision.
Thank you. Thanks for going along with it. I
Thanks everybody
appreciate
at
it.
the team. I'll say one more thing. I'm sorry, but when this came to us at the initial phase, the Commissioner Pepcorn wanted it to be open to all the commissioners and not just to have one commissioner. And I embraced that, but I wasn't part of the sausage making. I was looking forward to the community making this what they want it to be. And you've really delivered on that, what the community thinks we will need and use.
I hope so. I think we have. I think the committee's been very diligent in paying attention to everything, especially that scoring system. Thank you, Commissioner Kolpak. We'll see how it works out. It's going to be the real sausage making is yet to come when we get the proposals in. We'll have to see what happens. It's going to be very interesting and I think a lot of fun.
Well, I'm glad this keeps you up at night, Charlie.
What's that?
I'm glad this keeps you up at night.
It
Thank
does
you.
sometimes, yeah. I'll look at that.
Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Kolpak.
Aye.
Strand.
Yes.
Turnberg.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 50, application for property tax exemptions for improvements made to buildings. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Kolpak.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Strand.
Yes.
Turnberg.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Item 51, recommendations for appointments to the following boards and commissions: Special Assessment Commission, Library Board, Arts and Culture Commission. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Kolpak?
Just a comment, I want to thank Tracy Jardry, who's in the audience today, who's going off of the Arts and Culture Commission. She's former board chair who served on the Arts and Culture Commission and gave a lot of her time. The reason is because she now serves on the Planning Commission. And so just really appreciate her continued service to the city of Fargo. So thank you, Tracy.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Strand.
Yes.
Turnberg.
Yes.
Kolpak.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Jen Fowl, measles update. Looks like we're at number one in the nation, huh?
Per 100,000, yes. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I have with me tonight Brenton Nessemeyer, who is the state epidemiologist who partners and works with us at Fargo Cass Public Health as well, presenting a measles update at the request of Commissioner John Strand. I'll let Brenton begin and then I will take over.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'd just like to give you a quick update. Currently, nationwide, we've seen, as of Friday, we've seen 1,168 cases of measles reported by 34 states and jurisdictions. North Dakota has 34 of those cases. I'll break that down. Williams County 16, Grand Forks County 10, Cass County 7, and 1 case in Burke. We do update our dashboard every night at midnight. So the most updated information, if you check our website every morning, the HHS measles page, you will see any cases that populated over the previous day. We do work measles cases at a state level 7 days a week. So if a case comes in on a Saturday or Sunday, a member of my team or a member of HHS is calling them and trying to gather those exposure sites. So it's a 7-day-a-week process. Some of the questions that were asked, what do measles symptoms look like? Since not everyone may know what measles looks like, it's not something that we see very regularly. Usually, you have a fever, and then a few days after that, it's followed by that blotchy rash that starts on your forehead or your face and moves on its way down. Other symptoms are just general flu-like symptoms, which include cough, runny nose, and watery eyes. Some people may have white spots in their mouth, which are Koplik spots. But in order to meet the case definition, you do need that rash. One of the most effective ways to prevent measles is through the MMR vaccine. 2 doses of MMR are 97% effective. Usually the first dose is given at that 12 to 15 months, the second dose at that 4 to 6. Those born before 1957, which excludes me, but are considered immune. And then adults born after 1957, right about into the early 90s, may only have one dose, that's fine. If you remember the early 90s, late 80s, we did have a large outbreak nationwide, and that's when they started recommending the second dose. And then all healthcare workers should have 2 doses. If you don't know your immunization status, you can go on HHS website to find and complete an immunization status request. And we do have a handy app called Docket, in which you can download onto your phone to pull your immunization record. You can print your official immunization record through there. And you may also hear through immunizations, some Williams County does have enhanced vaccine requirements or enhanced vaccine recommendations, which just means that children under 1 can receive an MMR, or you can receive your second dose 28 days after your first dose. Currently, since we do not detect or have a need to believe that there's community transmission in Cass County, HHS is not recommending that. But if that were to change, or if we were to detect community transmission, North Dakota HHS, in collaboration with Fargo Cass Public Health, would put out a news release and then let our citizens know about updated vaccine recommendations.
Yep, so all the cases here in Fargo Cass are linked, and that's why there is no transmission or spread in the community. One of the things that we have done at Fargo Cass is we've had 2 measles clinics within the setting in May, and we were able to immunize 48 additional adults. Immunizations are available at regular immunization clinic hours as well. We did 15 more last week, and we'll continue to do that as people are wanting to be immunized. We also worked with other community providers, healthcare providers, to create and distribute a healthcare provider network and response. Fargo Cass is not testing for measles. It was decided at the state level that the local public health units throughout the state will not be testing. So figuring out who in the city is going to be testing, and then working with our healthcare peers in order to have that communication and distribution method.
Any questions, Commissioner Strand?
Thank you. This is, I don't know. I'm kind of gun shy after our last pandemic and health challenge. And I'm wondering, a couple things, like how long will this go? Is this like COVID where we're going to have it forever? Or is it just a moment in time, like when school comes this fall, we won't be worrying about kids reconvening? I don't know.
I wish I had that answer, Commissioner Strand. We haven't had any new cases presented here since May 25th. People are quarantining and being responsive. So as long as that continues to happen, we won't have spread. There are on the website, if you've traveled through an area, they list the areas where people who have had the measles and have tested positive. On the website for HHS, there's a listing of those spaces and when those hours and days were that the person who was positive for measles traveled through, because it can be in the air several hours after the person traveled through the area. So if you've traveled through that same area, you could potentially get it if you hadn't been immunized.
And what is our vaccination rate locally?
I don't have that one with me tonight.
Our vaccination rate locally in Cass County is right around that 90 to 93%. So just below the 95% herd immunity. But we are working hard through our efforts with our pediatric clinics, Fargo Cass Public Health, and other providers to raise that rate.
Very good. Thank you for the update. Appreciate it.
There is a stack of these in the back if anybody wants the docket QR code and scanning it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Liaison Commissioner updates. Commissioner Peppern. Commissioner Turnberg.
No update.
Commissioner Kolpak.
I have one slide, and I've been reporting regularly on this Fargo Youth Initiative because they're a very active, engaged group, and so we meet monthly. And they just met again. And again, just as a reminder, it's an advisory body to the City Commission made up of high school students from around our entire community. At their meeting on June 1st, they met with representatives from Youth Action Board on youth homelessness and discussed how to get involved. They also met with an artist for an upcoming downtown mural. And they learned about the City of Fargo's budget process and review of boards and commissions, the information that was shared together at our brown bag session. I'd also like to congratulate 3 of the graduating senior members, Kenzie, Steph, and Callie. And the next meeting is August 3rd.
Mr. Strand.
No update.
Thank you. Resident comments. We have 6 comments, so we'll take our virtual first. Olivia Fisher, are you on?
Yep, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Your time starts now.
Good afternoon. My name is Olivia and I'm a Fargo resident. I'm speaking today to inform my fellow citizens of the hypocrisy and lack of effort that this commission, the police force, and City of Fargo teams continue to portray to us all. Last week, the warming center officially closed. There have been 0 public updates about this, nor the promises that were made months ago about the 50-plus housing units that are supposed to be available right now. We have no idea if anyone has been housed in the 22 units that were supposedly being worked on in April, and we don't know who is at the top of the list to be housed. You are failing your residents every day that you don't speak up about this or respond to the emails you insist are always reachable. With the warming center being closed and the camping ban in place, you are accepting that folks will face arrest simply for not having a bed to sleep in. Rather than looking to funding to keep the warming center open until you find a permanent solution, you've turned a blind eye. On top of that, the deck recently closed down for a few weekends without any notice to the public. They couldn't even be bothered to leave a note on the door. And according to recent reports, the Cass County Jail is set to increase capacity 55% by mid-July. There will now be a total of 540 beds, with the expansion costing $31 million. After months of being assured that unhoused folks won't wind up stuck in jail because it's typically full, this expansion is insulting and intentionally harmful. How dare you make promises about housing only to not fulfill them and instead open up more opportunities for people to be criminalized? The amount of people being harassed simply for appearing to be houseless while sitting outside is already increasing. Cass County Sheriff Jesse Johnner said it's hard for the police to keep people safe when there is no room in the jail, but I beg to differ. Having less jail space makes it difficult for you all to control and punish the public when they don't fall in line with the capitalist machine. The fact that a $31 million expansion for the jail and a $40 million convention center are now taking precedence over affordable housing is infuriating. It makes me sick to think about how neighbors across town have nowhere safe to go at night while my tax dollars fund more jail cells for you to throw them into. There will be plenty of empty hotel rooms in the convention center each night. Maybe you should use those to house people until you find some real solutions. If you aren't 100% certain about what you can and cannot provide for the community, you shouldn't be making promises months in advance, because now you have left many of us in the dust. I'm very confused as to why there weren't more efforts made years ago to, as you say, end homelessness. What will it take for you to set a strict deadline for yourselves and the coalition to get these units available? I hear and see countless messages from community members who are disturbed at how the homeless population is getting treated here. We want to help however we possibly can, and you should want to do the same. Please do better.
In person, Jim Shaw. Over here, Jim.
I'm Jim Shaw. 7 years ago, by a 2-to-1 margin, Fargo residents voted to get rid of an unfair voting system in city elections. Now, because of action taken by the state legislature, we are stuck with that old unfair system that the vast majority of Fargo voters do not want. We cannot go back to a system where city commissioners can be elected with just 15% of the vote, or mayors can be elected with just 20%. With an open mayor's seat next year, that's a real possibility. The only option now is for Fargo to put in a primary. So tonight, we are calling on the Fargo City Commission to call a special city election and give Fargo residents the chance to vote for a nonpartisan primary system. Because our next city election is just a year away, I am hoping that special election can be held in October or November. The primary would work like this. The top 4 vote getters running for city commission would advance to the general election. The top 2 in the general election would be elected. For mayor, the top 2 vote getters would advance to the general election, and the one with the most votes in the general election would be our new mayor. Ideally, the city primary would be held in June, and the city general election would be held in November in conjunction with statewide elections. If you do that, you are guaranteed two things. First, strong voter turnouts. And second, those elections will not cost the city of Fargo any extra money. Perhaps most importantly, the people we elect as city commissioners and the mayor are guaranteed to receive at least 50% of the vote. That's the ultimate objective here, to have people in office who receive a majority of the vote. Fargo citizens then get the office holders they want, and those elected can serve knowing that they received a mandate. It's a fair system with integrity. This system would not favor liberal, moderate, or conservative candidates. We already have nonpartisan primaries here. In Cass County, we have them for sheriff, judges, and county commissioners. We know the current voting system does not work. Please give Fargo voters a chance. Thank you.
Representative Scott Wagner.
Good evening. Scott Wagner, North Fargo resident. Many of you know me. I've served in local government for a number of years at the county level and also as a current state legislator. And I've also been a candidate for city commission in the past. And so I've kind of learned a lot through those processes. I think Jim Shaw, summed things up very well. However, just kind of a little of an insight. During my service in the legislature, I think one of the issues that is critically important to me is elections and getting a majority of the eligible voters that come out, a majority of the majority. You know, one of the issues that took place, Measure 4, a lot of the politicians, elected officials were allowed the opportunity to kind of decide, I guess, for themselves and read into what that vote in November was. And one of the problems I see at the local level, except for county government, there's a handful of local offices where we don't go to the majority of the eligible voters, so we truly never know what their feeling is on an issue. And I think there's a level of power that I think local government would have if it went through a primary general process where we know what the majority will of the people of Fargo is when it comes to their elected officials. So as an example, last 4 primaries, it's been barely over 20% eligible voter turnout. So less than a quarter of the eligible voters are asked to participate in a process that we are electing these important positions. As opposed to the general election over the last 4 general elections, have had a majority of, I think, almost 55 to 56. Some elections have gone over 60% eligible voter turnout. And I think that's very important. Another issue, I think it would make you a better elected officials coming in, with the budget process starting, weeks after you get elected. One of the nice things that I had when I was a county commissioner, I was elected in November, took office in December, and I didn't have my first budget hearings until August of the preceding year. I had 9 months to learn the budgets. And as you know, you have many issues that are on your budget or on your agendas that you will make financial decisions on an incremental process. And I think that would make better decisions by the city commission as well. So thank you for the time. And I just got over my time, but I want to thank you for your service. These are not easy jobs to do. None of them when you come into elective office. So thank you for the service to our city.
Representative Carla Rose Hansen. Sorry about that. We have a 2.5 minute limit, so I know sometimes as a politician it's hard to tighten it up, but we thank you for your service as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carla Rose Hansen. I represent District 44 in the North Dakota House. So I want to just echo some of the comments that were made by the previous speakers. As a Fargo voter, I was one of the many people who supported the process of approval voting when it was before us as voters here in the city, because I felt it did prevent the situation of electing a candidate with a very small percentage of the vote. So as a state legislator, then I was deeply disappointed that my colleagues voted to take away the ability for our community to use approval voting. We really, with that ban, they stripped away a tool that Fargo voters had chosen for themselves, and that was very disappointing. In absence of our ability to use approval voting here in the city of Fargo, I do support this idea of having primary elections for the city of Fargo's elected leaders and advancing the top vote getters to the general election. I believe that primary elections can contribute to the likely outcome of having more of a consensus candidate rather than having a fractured electoral result and having someone win with a very small percentage of the vote. I also have a very high, I place a very high priority on having our electorate, the voters themselves, be very engaged and informed in the process. I think that results in better outcomes. And so I think when we have a primary process that advances the top candidates to the general election, narrowing the field of candidates enables the voters to really deeply get to know those top candidates. They can participate in debates in a better way. The media can cover those candidates in a deeper way. And it's easier for the public to get to know those people in a more detailed way. And so the better the voters are informed about the candidates before them, I think the better choices they will be making. I'm joined in supporting this idea by Representative Steve Swantek as well, who can be here tonight. And finally, I also want to make the point that as we also consider the idea of a ward system, I think these could mesh together in a very successful way. So thank you for your time.
Commissioner Tony Greenberg. A lot of elected people tonight.
Mayor Mahoney and commissioners, this is what you get when you answer a social media post over the weekend with Mr. Shaw. Would you please come in and share your views? And I said I certainly would, so I appreciate Mr. Shaw. My remarks are more maybe a trip down memory lane. What I shared with Jim is that when I announced my candidacy for the City Commission in 2016, the first question from KFGO was, what do you think about Fargo's voting system? And I said, I believe, in my experience, you should have 50% plus one to be in public office. Fast forward, when I was elected to the City Commission, as you know, Mayor and Commissioner Pepcorn and Commissioner Strand, the Commission approved a task force, which Commissioner Garrick and I were advisors to that task force. It was a bipartisan group that met about 8 times over about 9 months to identify changes to the election system. As a result of their work, I'll just summarize the key findings and then give you a thought or two. The electoral, and which was driving this, was the percent of people that were being elected. Was 4 different outcomes: primary, general, approval, instant runoff, or proportional. But the members asked themselves, do we care? And is it essential that winning candidates receive a large number of votes? And all the members of the task force agreed yes to that. The task force then went forward and recommended that approval voting be adopted. The City Commission did not act on that recommendation, nor any of the recommendations. One of the members then took it upon himself to gather signatures to get approval voting on the ballot, which then passed by the voters. The other item they looked at is the number of people to serve on city government or City Commission, and that recommendation was 2. The form of governance was also reviewed by the task force, and their recommendations that no changes be made to the commission form of governance. The status of mayor was discussed, and at that time, 9 years ago, it was felt that the commission, or the task force, that the mayor should be part-time and that term limits should remain intact. And those were the highlights of the task force. You know, what I've learned in my public life is that your hardest job as an elected official is to estimate what the silent majority feels. And I hope there's a lot of public attention to this. It gives you more feedback on what's the right decision to make. Hindsight, if I was guiding the task force again, I would have accepted awards, but only if voted that large by the entire community, not by pockets of the community. Much like the county commission, we serve 5 different wards and districts, but the entire county elects us. And I think that's something to consider.
Thank you. Christopher Cohn. It's hard to keep that 2.5 minutes.
Yes, I'm Christopher Cohn, Fargo resident. And what I wanted to talk about was I noticed that the budgetary constraints are getting much tighter, especially going into 2026. And I was at today's special city commission meeting discussing the budget. And I thought a really good way to, or one particular good way to deal with that is to address the issue of the use of police resources. They're very expensive, and we have the police going to all sorts of non-police functions, including noise complaints, which is the quality of life issue, mental health crises, and minor traffic accidents. And what we could have instead is trained alternative responders. And currently across the nation, there's about 130 programs of up and operating of trained alternative responders. And I think the most important one is the mental health crises, because the police admit that they're not qualified, they're not trained to deal with mental health crises. And what unfortunately has happened repeatedly in the country is that they've shot and killed people. Sometimes people use the police as, or do a suicide by police. And that's probably the most important one we need to address. But even with minor traffic accidents, accidents that don't involve injuries, that don't involve crimes, they could be handled by non-police trained people. One example of non-trained or non-police that we're using right now are community service officers who deal with animal control problems. Previously, the Fargo police would come out and deal with any animal issue. I remember calling one time about a loose cat in an apartment building I was living in. The officer wanted to know why I had called the police for such a thing. And I said, well, it's because your after-hour systems require me to call the police for this issue. So, so an example is one of these programs is in Albuquerque, New Mexico, Olympia, Washington, and Rochester, New York, trained teams of
Chris, your time has run out, so thank you for the information. Appreciate it. We have no other speakers. We stand adjourned.